Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Come on!
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Sleeping Sunday. It's interview day. We got a special guest, Yogi Charu, with us, talking about his new book. Third time on the show. But before we get into Yogi Charu, let's just say hi, Miss Mara. Welcome, Miss Mara.
Hi, thanks.
I also want to say I'm here live with a whole group of yogis here, and we're having our last program at the farm. It's a Seva program. People are working their butts off. Huh?
Last for the year?
It's our last program for the year. Yeah.
Okay.
And we got into it. I was so exhausted yesterday. I just shut down. I couldn't move. We were doing wood. We're moving stones. People are completely surrendered, and it's a great atmosphere. We had a nice evening program and kirtan and satsang.
Had a little fire going in there?
A little fire going. Yeah, had a fire going. Had some kirtan. Maya led the kirtan. It was really nice.
Hot apple cider.
A little hot apple cider, some pumpkin pie. It was great. They're like, we didn't get any pumpkin pie. Yes, you got we had sun potpourri. That was good. Anyway, It's nice. And we're sort of winding up today. And yeah, we got about 20 or so people over here. And so Miss Mara, what are your announcements before we dive into this?
We've got Back to Recovery group meetings at 9:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern time, and Urban Davy today at 11 a.m. via the Bhakti Center.
Go to bhakticenter.org. Ladies, that's for you, right? That's not for the guys. Guys not allowed in the Urban Davy thing.
No men allowed. What's that about?
Oh, and also there's no show tomorrow. We're taking the day off.
Tomorrow.
Oh, there's no show tomorrow.
So now men are screwed over 2 times. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Got it rough.
What do you think about this sweat? Is this the coolest sweatshirt you've ever seen?
That's coming from
Vulcan House. Maybe put that on.
Vulcan House is going to send me something like that, but it never arrived.
Oh, they sent it to me by mistake. I'm wearing it right now.
For real?
Yeah.
No, because it wasn't that.
That face. Did you see that face? He was like, for real? No, I'm just joking. They sent this to me, Prabhu.
Okay. At Vulcan House, I don't know if you forgot or if it never made it, but I'm down if you are.
You just send it
but
to
if
me.
Not, it's no problem.
You just send it to me. I'll give it to him. You got my address.
Yeah. I think I requested something else. It wasn't that one, that black flag one. It was something else.
Oh, they make a windbreaker like this too.
Like a coach's jacket.
Next time I play some show, I'm gonna wear this. All right, let's get on to Yogi Charu. Yogi Charu, welcome to the show. Harry Bowl.
Haribol.
Number 3, third time you've been on the show.
Yes.
Should I give a little background to Yogi Charu?
Yeah.
Okay. If you haven't heard him on the show, we've had him a couple of times before. But Yogi Charu is an old friend of ours. Charu and I, we go back as monks back to about 1995 or 96. Is that right?
94.
94, that early, yeah. So we lived in ashrams together, traveled together as monks. But Charu grew up in Belize, in Central America, and but as a young boy, even right, I'd say boy, he first got introduced to to Bhagavad Gita and yoga philosophy. Is that right? How old were you?
15.
15 years old. And
How did you get, refresh my memory, Yogi Charu. How did you get into
Mhm.
Bhagavad Gita at 15?
When I went to one school, a friend, two friends. I guess those days, devotees used to sell books in Miami Airport. So whenever Belizeans would travel back and
They get
forth,
some books.
books
Okay.
landed in the country that way. So once I got into meditation and yoga, the books just started to manifest.
But didn't a Swami, a wandering
Yogi,
sannyasi,
a yogi from the
yogi,
Himalayas, yeah,
he
Mm.
came through Belize,
yeah, and
started
introduced,
training you up.
yeah, me and a friend, and that's how we got into yoga.
And then, so you learned yoga from this wandering mendicant, and then you came to America and you joined a Hare Krishna ashram, and we became friends. And then at a certain point, you went up to the Himalayas yourself and started to
Yeah,
study up there
yeah, yeah,
and at the Bihar School of Yoga. And I'll say this, and I've said it on the show before, I have so over, Raghunath and I have been practicing bhakti yoga for like about 35 years, each of us. And so we have hundreds of relationships and met so many interesting people and so on. But I would say amongst all of my bhakti yogi friends, and I have hundreds of them, that Yogi Charu is the one that he really has. He's a deep bhakti yogi at heart, but he has the inner makeup of like a Himalayan yogi, in the sense that he's drawn to a lot of those practices, those meditational practices that most people aren't interested. Like most people, like they don't want to sit still for 24 hours and count every breath or do things like that. But Charu, he gets into that kind of stuff. He goes deep within himself and he discovers things. He's got the natural aptitude for these things, and it's made him a very, very special teacher of meditation. And you do that online, right? People can find you at
yogicharu.com. Yeah,
yogicharu.com, and you can
Maybe we'll
see the
put that
different
on
kind
the
of
board.
courses
Put
he
that in the show
offers.
notes. Yeah.
Yeah, the different kind of course. If you want to really study meditation, I think there's no one better to go to than Yogi True. He's not faking it. It's not like he just learned it like last week and now he's doing a seminar on it. This is something that not only has he gone up to the Himalayas, studied the Bihar School of Yoga, practiced Bhakti Yoga for over 30 years, but it's always felt like this is something that's been in you from previous life. But dear friend,
My vote
Yogi
would be
True is a dear friend.
probably from a previous life. What are the chances a 15-year-old gets a Bhagavad Gita and actually is interested in the Bhagavad Gita? I think those
Yeah.
things are they sort of refined us
Yeah.
coming from previous lives.
And
At 15
most of
years
us
old, that
don't
was
like.
the last thing I was interested when I was 15 years old was the Bhagavad Gita. That'd be the last thing.
Or how about things like fasting for 40 days or things like that? Like True
Yeah.
does those kind of things. And most people, they don't have that drive to do. But the big news is, after many years of waiting, Yogi True has just published a book. And that book is entitled A Practical Guide to Mental Hygiene by Yogi Charu. And so we're excited about that. I've been looking forward to I've been hearing about this for some time. Why don't you just give us a brief outline of the book, or tell us what it is that you're trying to share through it?
thank you both for your kind words. So the book is basically helping practical way to help people to understand the universe that we're living in, the three modes of nature that pervades the universe, and how time pushes us on through the three modes of nature, and how once we are incarnated, we have this amazing micro universe here. But what are we doing with it here, this body? What are we doing here? How is it moving? There's so many parts to us we don't really know. Just the physical, how my brain works with the optic nerve, or how I put food in here and digestion takes place. It's very complex. And then on top of that, we have the subtle bodies. So the book is built around let people understand the complexity of the mind, the senses from the physical body, how they interact through the three modes of nature with our mind. And we can then step back to watch our mental state and explaining how from birth we get incarnated. You have a little body, and as the little baby, if everyone could remember, maybe when they were a week in their mother's hands, looking up at that time, it's just a pure consciousness witnessing. At that time, neither of us thought we were male or female. Neither of us thought we were Belizean or American. You're just 2-3 days old. You're just experiencing this dimension. And the book is to help people to get back to that pure essence. Because as we start to grow from whichever culture we are born into, the three modes of nature control our senses through that culture. So the type of food we will eat is from our culture through the three modes of nature. So if you're born in, right, I grew up on Caribbean food, or if someone is born in Asia, Asian cooking, but even within that genre of cooking, the three modes of nature work through it. So your tongue affects your mental state. Each sense affects the mental state according to the culture we are born into. And so a chapter is dedicated to each one of the senses through the three modes and how the mental state exists.
So let's get into the chapters in a minute, but you've obviously very intentionally used this kind of language, mental hygiene. And when we think of hygiene, I suppose we're thinking of something that needs regular upkeep. Right?
We think of my mind goes right to dental hygiene.
Dental hygiene,
because that's the only time Americans really use the word hygiene so much. And it's sort of the yogis throw that word around a lot, and I liked it because we also have plaque and cavities in the mind, mental plaque.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell us your intention, like where you're coming from using that term?
I remember it's about maybe about 20 years ago. I was in a meditation and it just dawned on me, like Paramatma speaking to us, right? It just dawned on me, oh, my mind is getting quieter. My mind is getting freed from the mental chatter. And then I realized, oh, the mental chatter, I just replaced it with the phrase mental plaque. And then I was like, yeah, this is mental hygiene. Just like mental hygiene, this is what it is. So like Paramatma just kind of helped me to, and it just made sense. Oh, because whenever we hear the term hygiene, most people think it's for the body, right? Yes. Either physical hygiene, where your soap, lotion, shampoo, hair hygiene, face hygiene, dental hygiene.
Let's not forget the underarms.
Yeah, right. So in our culture, everyone around the world knows physical hygiene is important.
Right.
And so there's deodorant, soap, so many things. But when we come to the yoga culture, we see they take the physical hygiene to another level. They do all the external cleansing.
Kriyas.
And then they also do the internal organs cleansing, like swallowing the 4 feet cloth to clean the stomach, clean the esophagus. Neti, send the tube, just like everyone floss the teeth. Dental hygiene, the yogis, we floss the nasal channel.
It's been a long time since I dealt with my esophagus. What about you, Raghunath?
Yeah, my esophagus needs a little checkup right now. Too. I don't floss that much lately. My nostrils.
Charu does that, right? Often do you still do that on occasion?
Oh yeah, those are part of my life.
That's what you swallow long cloth.
Swallow the 4 feet cloth, and then you move the navel up, the muscles and the abdomen around Noli. And then you bring it up the cloth back, and comes up with excess mucus and bile. And
one thing I do occasionally is the neti with the neti
with the pot,
pouring it through the nostrils. That's a good one.
I think in the yoga community that became popular because it's easier with the neti pot. It's water.
Yeah.
But when I was learning, we learned also the sutra. So you take the thread and you send it through the nose, and then you grab it through the mouth. So you have a floss from the mouth.
Right.
You press all the marma points, the pressure points in the nasal channel, which affects the other organs as well. So the yogis have these elaborate cleanses for the physical body as well, along
Right.
with the shampoo and all that.
Right.
So I just realized, wait, the yogis understood our body is not just the physical, our body also the internal organs. But we say out of sight, out of mind. No one gets up and see their esophagus. No one cares to clean it. But what we do see is the external. So we clean this.
Right.
So the yogis, they want to wait, our physical body also need the colon. So we wash the colon out. You did the colon wash with me before, Costa?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't think
Salt
so.
water, where we drank a gallon and a half.
You know, once I stayed with you and I did the that cleanse, like that 10-day fast with the with the lemon juice and
okay, yeah. Yes, thank you. I remember that too. Yeah. So the yogis understood the alimentary canal, right? From the mouth to the rectum. It's very complex. And this is humans today. We love to do this. Eat.
Okay.
After the food goes down here, we don't care.
Forget about it.
The yogis are more in tune. Wait, my liver is important, my heart is important, my spleen is important, my small intestine. So there's a cleanse we call shanka, means the conch. It's because if you have a conch shell, you'll see it has a lot of ridges in the groove. Yeah. So if you pour water in it, it comes out through those ridges. So it's called Shanka Prakshalasana, how the yogis wash the internal organs out. Okay. In the West, a lot of people are familiar with colonics, but that's only go up, the water comes up maybe to 3/4 of the colon. But the way the yogis wash is from here down.
100%.
100% flush out. So and I teach that maybe twice a year.
Is that with water and salt?
Yes, a gallon and a half of lukewarm salt water.
So it's not if you and I did this, we should do this.
Yeah.
And then we come on the show like after that. Who knows?
We might have to run off the show if we.
So
that salt water comes out whenever it wants to come out.
The next time we come on, we should do it for the group.
All right, let's get together and do it.
Because everyone is at home, so you have your own bathroom, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just keep the camera off on the show.
I remember I used to teach these things, and we would do it in hotels, right? In Hong Kong and San Francisco. And I remember once a Japanese lady came, and everyone has their bathroom, but we have the room where I'm making the salt water and everything for people, and you drink 2 glasses, and then there are 6 poses you do to help to move the water down. And about 45 minutes in, everyone starts to go to the loo, and then what comes out is solid, then semi-solid, and about 55 minutes in, clear water here, clear water the other end. You flushed everything out.
Okay.
And I remember one Japanese lady came out, and she's smiling from here to here. And I'm like, what's going on? She said, Yogi Charu, you'll never believe. But I said, look, I'm flushed many people out. What's going on? She said,
something came out.
She said, I remember eating a piece of crayon when she was like 7 years old or something like that.
Oh my God.
30-something years later, the piece of crayon was stuck to a part of her intestine.
Unbelievable.
Never broke it down. Amazing.
How old was she?
Close to 50.
Oh my God.
And it flushed out.
Years.
Yeah, it flushed out. She was like, whoa. So there's a lot of
we're storing crayons. I got lots of
stuff.
I got lots of stuff up there.
So the yogis develop these cleansing techniques to wash the organs out. So we do it. That's a big one. So that's like twice a year on the season changes, the equinox or the solstice. But then there are the daily ones, just like we shower and toothpaste and stuff, is like the neti and easier ones.
But if I understand correctly, your book is not about that. Your book is saying just as we need to care for
The
the body,
physical, we need to care for the mind,
mind,
the
it may be
astral
more
body.
important even, right? Even more
Yeah,
important.
yeah,
So,
because
so
go ahead.
go ahead. Well, I
Because
was gonna. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, the physical body needs to be clean, and I think that's where our Western culture ends. But then we go to the other part where Western culture says mental health is a big issue.
Right. We
But
have a mental
We've
health
got
crisis.
we've got
mental,
drugs for that.
yeah, but they don't really know how to
Maintain.
purify the mind or something, maintain it, right? And
Yeah.
to do
I
it
don't think we
yourself.
even I don't think we even know what purifying the mind means. Like where should it be at?
Yeah.
We're just like, okay, as long as you're not crazy, as long as you're not depressed, as long as you're going to work, as long as you're
Yeah.
not, hitting your wife or you're beating your kids, then you're okay. No,
Yeah.
there's actually something higher than that. We don't even have any metric to measure like what is a healthy normal mind? What's the default that we're trying to get back to?
Yeah. So yeah, so as when you do these, then I got introduced when I got introduced to yoga, I understood right off the bat, yoga is a very deep practice that can purify the physical, can purify our mental body, our mind, can purify our intellectual body, can purify the because the
Heart.
yogis understood we have different layers. All of us are living with different layers. So the yoga culture was developed to purify each and every one of those layers.
Okay.
And
Now, I noticed that you have 10 chapters in the book,
mhm,
and it seems that your pattern here is that you speak on a particular topic, and then you give a meditation or like a mental hygiene technique
yeah,
uh, for that specific subject. So you mentioned the modes of material nature.
yeah,
Then there's the mind and time, the
yeah,
mind in the sense of sight, the mind in the sense of hearing,
yeah,
the mind in the sense of taste, the mind in the sense of smell, the mind in the sense
Mm.
of touch, the mind of the intellect. And then there's a chapter 10 is living in the present moment.
yeah.
And each one of these chapters has an exercise, you could say, something
Practical
like
exercise.
practical exercise. Are these things that you would encourage someone to do like on a regular basis, like a practice of hygiene? Is that the idea?
Yeah. So when I wrote the book, I understood it's easy to give people theory
Right.
why your mind is like this, but it's not just gyan or knowledge I wanted to offer people. I wanted people to experience it. So to turn the gyan into vigyan, realize knowledge. So after each chapter, there's a meditation practice on the chapter which they just had the philosophy for. So that as
Right.
they read it, wow, I
You apply
do
it.
this practice, yes, and then see, oh, it makes sense. My mind got purified or peaceful from the practice, putting the knowledge into practice. Otherwise, so that was how I wrote it. And
Otherwise, it's like studying about brushing your teeth, but you never brush your teeth.
never brush it. There you go. Right.
So it doesn't help so much.
Yeah.
What you know.
And yeah, and so what I realized was in the mental health world, they don't have practice. Like I teach meditation for so many years, and people who come to my classes are psychiatrists, psychology. They're coming to my classes to get a break, right? Right? I
They
remember when,
probably need the hygiene more than anyone because, like,
yeah,
Well, think of all the
the plaque.
plaque they take in
yes,
Yeah.
during the course of the day. I was, do you remember in the Brooklyn Temple there across? I don't know if it's still there, but across the street from the Brooklyn Temple there was, I don't know, it was like an insane asylum or something.
insane asylum. Yeah, I
But
remember.
not super insane. They
Yeah.
were sort of insane.
Yeah,
It was like just sane enough where they'd let them out for a few hours and bring them in at night. And I remember I would thought, you know what? I wonder what these guys are like. And I went into just check it out. and
They
the
kept you
place
there.
they kept me there for 2 years. No, so we're gonna have to keep you, Mr. Capo. No, I the first thing I noticed was some people were eating, and it was like boxed food, like just like trash. And then there's nothing fresh at all. Cans of this, cans of that,
Junk
boxes
food.
of this. And then I noticed that the place was filthy. And I started to think, oh, how are these people ever going to get healthy when they're living in the mode of ignorance? And
Yes.
so, does your mental health hygiene talk about how to work with the gunas to create a type
Yes.
of mental illumination? Because that's
Yes.
what it seems like for
Yeah.
yogis to have hygiene. We have to bring the consciousness to goodness, or else all we're going to do is stay in that tamasic mode, and we're going to need medication just to cope with the material world.
Yes. The second chapter of the book is the three modes of nature, and explaining how the mind works in the different modes of nature and the pervasive. So that sets up the rest of the chapters to explain eating in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. As we put different food on the tongue, it affects the mental state. The type of music we hear through the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, right? It affects the mental state. So breaking down the whole three modes of nature through the senses, that's like the underlying aspect of the whole book, basically.
Okay.
Because what I realize is when doctors and scientists and psychiatrists would come to my class, I understood, wait, they have this title, psychiatrist or doctor. But then I got this deep realization that if Vyasadeva was here today in this day and age, or any of these advanced rishis, Dhruva Maharaj, or they understood the mind a million times more better than any psychiatrist today.
Oh, yeah.
So when and that's why we give yoga a watered down perception. Someone says, "Oh, I'm practicing yoga." People think it's just posture, but wait, these great rishis understood the mind like a psychiatrist 10 times more, 100 times better. So the practices these rishis left for us, when I practice them, I'm like, oh, wow, this is what the world needs. So they need to relax the mind. How do they get there? Instead of sedating the mind with drugs, there are actually techniques they left for us to let the mind become wholesome. So in the first chapter, explains the duality of the universe, the duality of the mind, because everyone's mind we have a one mind. But from young, when we're living in the dualities, our mind start to split. And the further it splits, that's when it gets schizophrenic. So every one of us is walking around with the mind split. Those, like Raghunath says, those who's just maintaining to not hit their kids or this, that, they're somehow trying to keep the split from going too wide. So how to make the mind harness, right? As soon as we desire, and I explain how the desires come through the three modes. As soon as you desire something, I'm going to go to this university or this school, a part of your mind says, no, you can't do it, cannot qualify. The mind splits. As soon as the diabetic person passed the donut shop, oh, I want to eat the donuts. Oh, my doctor said I shouldn't eat sugar, right? So every one of us have this split in our mind in most of the things we do. And it creates tension. So how to make that split come back to that beautiful, harmonious mind, right? And so the whole process is how to train the mind again to notice when the split is there, the dualities of the universe, and then how to harmonize it. And again, giving people a practical technique that works. Oh, wow, I understand why now I acted like this. Why now am I thinking like this? Because a lot of people we don't step back to watch our process, how we're engineered into this human incarnation, like the great rishis did.
No, I think
here's a question.
Wait, let me jump in for a second, Kaustubha, because I think this is worth teasing out a little. I think that second chapter of your book, understanding these modes of material nature and how we worked with them, that was one of the most significant deep dives I got into when I got into the Bhagavad Gita. And it was a great appreciation, because before I got into Bhakti, I was in a band. So what did we do in a band? We stayed up as late as we could. It was just part of trying to how to find enjoyment. And part of it was we stay up late, we go out, we hang out with friends, we go to clubs or something. Sometimes you get back home at 5 a.m. I worked at a nightclub. We get home at 5 a.m, and then you sleep till noon. And it just became a whole opposite of what we did when I said, you know what, this life is over. I'm moving to an ashram where you'd go to bed at 8:30, wake up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And the first thing I realized was there's so much. I was desperately searching for pleasure at night. Like sometimes people too with television, you're just like clicking through the channels looking for anything, explosions, a war, sex, whatever it is. Your thumb is just clicking things, and it's not in the enjoyment is not in the night. It's actually early in the morning. And even if you did have stuff to do in the morning, we used to have these things. Our generation had alarm clock radios where you go from like sleeping in the mode of ignorance and then wake up in the mode of passion with like playing some type of like first thing in the morning, you get rushing out, shoving a bagel in your mouth and running off to work or off to school. And that there's a precious morning time that a lot of our listeners are starting to really appreciate. There's a precious time before I get into the day, before I get to work, and it's going to give me so much mental clarity and so much mental health to face the rest of my day. And I'm so glad you incorporated that. You know what I would love to do with you, Yogi Charu? I would love to start like a rehab clinic with you. A rehab clinic for people who are trying everything to get off drugs, alcohol, addictive behaviors, mental illness, and just say, okay, here you go. We're going to rise early. We're going to take away all the tamasic things from their life. We're going to start off with a fast. We're only going to eat fresh fruits and vegetables for a week. And then we're going to do all these types of, cleansing techniques. We're going to do yoga every day. We're going to surround ourselves with nature. We're going to walk barefoot on the earth. Yeah. Don't you think that's going to have a radical effect on mental health?
Of course. Yeah. And it's just getting back to natural living, right? Our ancestors, every one of us are from different ancestry on the planet, but you go back to our great grandparents, right? If they look at us now, they understand why we have all these mental craziness on the planet, because we live so unnatural. Our great ancestors, when the sun went down, what did they do? They got enamored by the stars and the moon and went to sleep. And then when the sun rays is coming up, they got up. So living with nature. But like you were saying, right? Especially in teenage years, the later you stay up, you feel that's so unnatural for natural living, right? So your mental state is affected when we start to live with nature, back with nature.
I tell my kids, no good can come from staying up after 10 o'clock. It's true. That's when all the trouble starts. Right after 10 o'clock, watch out.
Yeah.
Okay, Kaustubha, what were you going to ask, Prabhu?
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Just so that I could better understand the idea of mental plaque and how you might address it. So let me throw something at you and see how you categorize this and if your techniques in your book kind of address this kind of thing. Not long ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and they were sharing with me how they had an exchange with a person who's a friend of theirs, but sometimes they have tension with this friend. And they felt like, in a sense, they had kind of been disappointed by that person, maybe cheated maybe a little bit, kind of, And so there's a disagreement about the exchange that took place. And my friend was trying to figure out how to best deal with it. Should I confront the person? Should I just let it go? But even just the conversation itself was creating a type of tension within them, within their mind, within their body. And even they kind of felt the desire to just be past it, that the mind wouldn't have to bear the weight of this tension anymore. Is that would you categorize that kind of inner turmoil or inner tension as plaque in a
Yes.
sense?
Yeah.
And so someone might say the way to deal with that, you have to figure out how you want to deal with this person. You have to figure out what your message is to them. I suppose that's one thing, but you're saying there's just other things that we can do in life that will, just as we daily take care of our teeth or our body, we could daily do these things and feel a sense of peace of mind.
Yeah. So whenever we have the tension in the mind, from any aspect, right? We can get tension in the mind just from being hungry, or if you overeat, or so that's physical, that's personal tension.
Yeah.
Then when we have tension with another person, right? We can then understand I cannot change someone else. What I've been gifted or engineered with is I can change myself. So I have to learn how to remove those tension from my environment. And one way of doing that is to bring the mind into the present moment. Because when we're having the tension, it means my mind has a thought pattern of the past or of the future.
Right.
So if I'm going to meet this person and release the tension with them, when I meet them, I have to be free from it first. I have to come into the mode of goodness first. So if I learn to bring my mind into the present moment, the mind is free from all the tension. Because if my mind is thinking, because remember, it's like our mind does this, right? This is my mind. A thought comes in, stays, it leaves. And as it leaves, another thought comes in, stays for a while, leaves. And then sometimes the thought comes in, stays, leaves, jump right back in, leaves,
A loop.
jump right back in.
The mental loop.
Yeah, that's so now we want to, and then
that's where that's when you know you need some hygiene, right then. When
yeah,
the loop is
it's just constantly, it's draining you. So then you want to understand, wait. Because when the thoughts come in, it's not just a thought pattern. It's the emotion it brings with it.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we think of the past, naturally it brings different types of emotions, right? We'll have emotions. You have a thought of the past, you'll have emotions of regret, of happiness, of sadness, of, and if you think of the future, thoughts of the future, you'll have emotions like fear, anxiety, hope, excitement. So when the thoughts come in, it's also bringing in emotions. And that's that's the mental plaques building right there. So how do we remove the thoughts and the emotions from the past or the future? So a whole chapter on the book is built on time to let people understand how our mind has been engineered to go into the memory in the past. Our mind is engineered to go into the future. We can set goals, but our mind is also engineered to be in the present moment. But today in Kali Yuga, we don't spend enough time in the present moment because we're either projecting there or projecting here. So we want to learn the art of bringing the mind in the present. And if you can bring your mind into the present, it's very easy. That's why the book has practical experiences. So if you look at everyone in this room right now, what is taking place all the time in the present moment? Two things the yogis recognize. Anyone has an answer?
Mara? I'll put Mara on the hot seat.
I have a guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, though. Would it be breathing would be one?
Breath. Right now, your breath is taking place in the present moment. So if you attach your mind to the breath, now remember, mental hygiene is something we got to do regularly. So maybe today, your mind stays at the breath for 10 seconds out of a minute. Tomorrow, 20 seconds out of a minute. A month down the road, can stay 90% of the time with the breath. Now, when your mind is with the breath, the mind is free from all that tension. And then what happens is you're not just bringing the mind into the present. As the mind comes into the present, that's the mode of goodness. So the mode of goodness, the yogis, they use the mode of goodness as a springboard to go into their spiritual perception. So as you use the mode of goodness, that quiet mind, that peaceful mind, right? A lot of times in meditation world that I see, people say, oh, meditation helps your mind get peaceful. Yes, but that's a springboard. It's the springboard for the mind as well to get the higher glimpse of who we spiritually are. So when you get these realizations in the present moment, you get some deep realizations. The tension that was there falls away. So that when you do make contact with the person again, it's not even an issue because you went on a higher experience of who we are.
Okay.
There's so much pain in the mind that this is so useful, practical, and needed information, Charu. I got hit with it truthfully very recently because I had my taxes done late, of course, and I was hit with this massive bill that was so overwhelming. I was like, oh my God. And it like paralyzed me for 35 hours until I had a friend who said I was going to come over and help me with it. He thinks maybe I did it wrong, but it paralyzed. Nothing happened to me. I was the same I was the same healthy body, right? Everything was going well in my life. I have people that love me. I have healthy food to eat. You know, there's wonderful things are happening in my life, but it was all a mental anguish. And then when the friend came over and he goes, oh, you completely neglected this entire part. It's not even a portion of this. And I was like, oh, I'm happy now. It's like living in this insane roller coaster in the mind.
Yeah.
And it's cheating us out of a wonderful reality of being here.
Yeah. And then the second thing that's happening in our body. Go ahead.
Say heartbeat.
Yes, the heartbeat. So right now, everyone, heartbeat is taking place in the present moment. So the way how the yogis connect the mind to the heartbeat is by performing kumbhak, retention of the breath. When you hold the breath, then it's easier for your mind to resonate. Dum, 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 dum. When your mind is on the heartbeat, your mind is free from past or future. You start to get realization of why you are living, why you've been with these amazing organs. And as you start to appreciate the heartbeat, the breath, the powerful emotions that comes out of the heart space. The first emotion yogis teach is love. Love comes out. And every other emotion that comes out in our mind from the heart space is secondary to love. Right? I love my kids. But then I tell the kids out of love, do this. The kid does the opposite. Anger comes out. So the anger is on a secondary to love. So when you quiet the mind, you tap into this force, right? And then we can then start to express this love through actions of devotion. You get very, so you can connect to the bhakti that's in the heart already.
I think the bhakti yogis are the real psychiatrists. What do you think? Can I add PhD after my name, Kaustubha? Would that be appropriate or inappropriate?
We'll work on it.
Raghunath Yogi.
You'll have to defend your thesis. But Charu, you mentioned something a few moments back. You mentioned that something about that we're not able to control another person, but we are able to change ourselves, or something like this, correct?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, in one sense, sounds simple enough, not the most profound thing in the world necessarily, but here's a question for you, because you're a person that's quite global. You've lived around the world and practiced and taught yoga and meditation around the world. You've done it to a lot of high-level people in terms of their occupations with different celebrities or all classes of people. I'm wondering how when you communicate to people, can the average person, does that sink in very deeply, or does it really usually take someone time to kind of own that and realize that?
Very good question. It's also, like I said, it depends on time and people's different karmas.
Yeah.
So someone might gravitate to it in like a week, someone might a year, depending on their how frequently, and again, how frequently they practice.
Yeah.
But if they hear it once a week, twice a week, practice it, then it depends. Then they might evolve much steeper than someone who hears it or tries it once a month. Because remember, when you're in this, explained in the book, the senses are getting pulled by tamas and rajas constantly when you try to bring it into the mode of goodness, right? Even Krishna says it in the Gita. The three modes of nature are not just there. No, they're competing. So you have to really visualize, wait, when you get your mind in the present moment in the mode of goodness, don't think Rajas and
coming after
Tamas
you.
is sleeping. No. They want to take over our consciousness. So so they're competing. So as they try to come, that's why it's regular practice. Because so you get stronger
and it gets weaker in comparison.
Yeah. So we want to, so I've seen different people. Like I remember one client in New York, she came up to me after working at me for about 8 months. She said, Yogi Charu, a lot of my employees, they brought gifts for me today and they said, I have changed. I'm a better person. I don't scream at them anymore. It took her 8 months of like letting her release the tension in her. Then as she released the tension in her, what happens? She changed her environment. When she would go to work, it's a different personality they're meeting because she started to do the work of connecting to her higher self, to realize that she's a spiritual being more than just the thoughts and the emotions and all that that's there.
You know, here's maybe the question I really love to hear from you on, and it's related to the question that I just asked. It seems like our world is in some ways more problematic than ever. And perhaps that's because of computer technology and the development of social media. The atmosphere is very unnatural. It feels like it's getting unnatural quicker. Now there's AI and it's just like it just doesn't stop moving forward, faster, and it plays with us. It plays with our sense of identity. It plays with we're struggling. We're going back. It used to be like, if we go back when I was growing up, things like journalism, they're kind of like societal rules about it that maybe not everybody followed, but for the most part, people understood them and there's certain standards. And then now we don't know, like, should we be censoring people? Should we not be? Is freedom of speech, this, that? There are conflicts around the world, bitter conflicts, painful conflicts. And we feel like in the past, only certain politicians would be asked about these things, or certain celebrities. And now it's almost like every living being that's got on social media is kind of like
has an opinion,
has an opinion or feels pressured to take a side. And we may feel like, I'm getting so much conflicting information. I don't know what's right and what's wrong. And it's really I think people are feeling it. And I can feel it. Almost feels, I think for a lot of people, it feels like society's getting a little pulled together. The threads are starting to break. And when that happens, we can really start to treat each other with kinds of cruelty that are very sad to see. Do you perceive it that way? And do you have thoughts about that? Ideas you'd like to share with us about that?
Thanks for your statement. So yeah, so I'm part of the planet I'm part of the society.
Yeah.
I'm either a part of the problem or a part of the solution, right?
Okay.
So I can be a part of the problem when I'm in the mode of too much rajas and passion and tamas. I can be a part of the solution when I'm in the mode of goodness, and I can think about things long term, contemplate my actions, the consequences that come with it. I think a lot of time, because the masses, let's take, for example, social media or the news outlet, and I explain this in the book, it controls the masses of people. Only a handful of people think, right? I'll just give an example. Let's say and they are called marketing people. They think for us. The marketing people get paid millions of dollars to make choices for us. Oh wow, we'll create this bag. Good. Now we need a marketing structure. So you're on your computer, you see an advertisement for the bag. Then you leave your house, on the bus, you see the bag. Yeah, sold it. They're getting in there. Then you see someone with the bag. And all of a sudden, you're walking into a store, buying that bag. And when we buy it, we're not happy. Why? Because it wasn't our choice. Someone made that choice for us. So with social media and all the way how the world is going, it's pulling us from us to go deep to make choice from within. So if someone is angry with another person or another class of people or another country, all of a sudden we get sucked into it because we're not grounded. So if we're able to go deep into our into our spiritual journey on a daily basis, or sadhana, then all that cloud that's around here, right, we can connect to the higher frequency. Because what all that cloud out there with the social media and all the news, all it's doing is pulling us from reality, knowledge that is real, because it's presenting knowledge, but it's presenting partial knowledge. It's presenting a philosophy or knowledge that segregates us, right? And that's why we feel that, oh, maybe this is right, but then all of a sudden, oh, maybe that is right. No, if we are able to go deep into our higher self, come into the mode of goodness, quiet the mind, like we can see the wars on the planet, right? We all have friends from Russia and Ukraine. Both of their names, Vladimir, right? And yet they're tension, right? It's like, hello. So let's get to the pure wisdom of the Gita. And that's why I think whatever, and we have to be practical. But is that ancestry.com or what they call, or like DNA tests? Yeah. Those are incomplete. Because if they do not trace back to prove that 8.9 billion of us are related as a family, that's an incomplete philosophy or program they have. Because we're all connected. We all have a human karma. How many eyes do you have? 2. How many eyes do they have? 2. How many fingers you've been engineered with? How many heart so we have so many things in common, so much similarities, but the tension out there focus on the differences. And we have me and you have more similarities. How many kidneys you have? How many elbows you have? What type of desires go through your mind? What kind of emotions? They're so similar. So this is the deep philosophy of the Vedas, is teaching us we are a spiritual family. It doesn't matter. And these are just like people that use, when I go into the airport, right? Nationality. Right? Or how tall are you? Infinite. Nationality. Spiritual. Universe. The universal. So I have to use terminologies that they give me, imposed on me when I took birth here. Oh, are you Black, Hispanic? Or are you African American? But wait, are you Asian? But when did that word Asia came about? When did that word Africa came about? What were people called before those names came about? So society blocks us from thinking beyond that dimension where, we were all one spiritual family.
Yogis say that, like, if you look at the ocean, you look at the surface, it's very rough, waves, heavy waves, but if you go down deep, it's very peaceful down there, very quiet, and I think what you're saying is, it seems like all of the media, all the technology, it has us all stuck on the surface.
Yep.
It has us asking all the wrong questions, and if we could all go deep, and it almost sounds impractical.
Yeah.
But it's actually the only practical
way to pull us out of the constant bombardment of partial knowledge. Let's go to
that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Let's go to
the
I like that. Partial
thank
knowledge.
Thank you so much, and let's talk about where people can find your book, because that's
you can find it on Amazon.com. Very easy. This is how it looks. Yeah.
Yes.
Practical guide.
A practical guide for mental hygiene.
It just says by Charu, no, not
by
Yogi
Charu, just by Charu, yeah. Because as I was writing, as I was writing it, I was thinking it's a practical book, but I will make it impractical if I put yogi on it, because a lot of my clients in Indonesia are Muslims. A lot of my clients in Belize are Christians. So Charu is more neutral, universal, right? So we want to help people to, even yoga is a mental modification, right?
Sure.
Truly, we are all just a divine spiritual being, right? So the book is to help people to get there.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Charu, just Charu.
Charu, thank you.
We're sick of the surface. We want to go where it's peaceful. We want to go down deep. Unless, of course, we run into a giant squid, which are very, very deep, but that's a problem.
But I want to meet an octopus
even in the depths, huh?
Octopus. That's who I want to connect with. I want to go down there and meet the octopus.
Okay, we want to thank Yogi Charu. Check out his book, Mental Hygiene, something we all need. And I want to thank everybody joining us live. Say Haribo, everybody.
Haribo.
Whoa. All right.
Thank you all so much for your time, your ears, your dedication to the wisdom of the sages. Haribo.
Haribo. Okay, Charu, I hope I see you in Florida. Kaustubha, we have a day off tomorrow.
That's right.
So I will see you Tuesday, my friend. There will be no calling or contacting me till then. Do you understand?
Oh, but I'll miss you so much.
No, we can text all day tomorrow. We can just text each other, send each other different emojis. How about that?
I sent you a great one, didn't I?
We can just think about each other too, you know that? I can take a little mental snapshot on you right now and just keep it close to my heart. And whenever I get sad or lonely or frustrated, I'll think, Kaustubha.
What I've been doing to Raghu, now maybe I've been causing tension, but I've been sending Raghu a photograph of, we say that everybody in this world has their own crazy Joe Davola. Someone in this world that just is crazy and out to get you. And I sent Raghunath a picture of his crazy Joe Davola all the time, like a few times a day.
All day long he sends me pictures of my Joe Davola. Okay, Kaustubha.
Who's your crazy Joe Davola? That's the question this weekend. Can we connect with them? Can we go deeper with them?
You got a crazy Joe Davola in your life? Says, oh yeah. Like she's got it like forefront of her mind.
We should all go out and find our crazy Joe Davola and connect, bring them deeper.
And look into their eyes and say, you know what? Whatever I've done, I'm sorry. And they're like,
sorry.
I'm going to get you anyway. Anyway,
I got Tarek.
It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day. We're going to let the magic continue to flow in the big Haribo!
Haribo!